Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Misha and I have Belle. No one's home, so I'm kind of holding on to her. You guys have to see this. Let me sit up. Look, she's with her little Christmas toy. Isn't that cute? I'm sorry, I think it is. I think it's cute. So today I actually have an exciting video. I want to show you guys my Veiny Hoyas. I ended up choosing 15 out of my collection that I wanted to introduce to you guys. I do have other Hoyas that have amazing veining, but I thought that this were good to display, and because it's 15 of them, I'm going to try my best to do it quickly. I do have them in 3 different mediums, and I'll kind of explain to you guys briefly if I remember where I ended up getting them and their names and their lighting conditions and the humidity for all of them. My home is pretty humid. It does remain at a level of 65 to 67 all the way up to, if it's in a terrarium setting, the 90s. So let's just get started. Okay, so these are in no particular order, and like I said, it's 15 of them, so I'm just gonna show you guys very quickly, and then I'm gonna try to place them in 2 different chairs that I have around me, because it's kind of hard to do it with Belle, and if I don't hold her, she is gonna make her presence known, especially since I'm home alone. Okay, so in no particular order, this is Hoya Soligam koyana. Soligamiana. So that's the name of the Hoya. And look at that. Look at that veination. That is a really veiny Hoya. And the growth pattern, it's pretty different and unique. I do love the fact that the leaves are quite long. I have long hands, I believe, and these leaves are really long and thin, and I just think this is the newest leaf and it has the most veination out of all of them. I just think it's incredible. And so of course I had to go ahead and display it. I ended up purchasing this Hoya probably a couple years ago. I do have pawn on the bottom and lega on top. That's when I first rooted this plant, I believe it was in sphagnum, and then after that I ended up going lega crazy, and that's what I did. I did notice that, you know, the water or the solution gets dirty quite fast, hence the reason why I placed pawn on the bottom. But other than that, it's a very healthy, slow growing Hoya. And yeah, that's my very first one. And I think it's a good pick. What do you guys think? Do you guys like this wonky look? I love it. You guys, oh my gosh. This puppy, she's being so funny. Look at this. She decided to lay, I'm not sure if you're able to see, but she just decided to lay her head on the table. I don't know. She's just the cutest thing ever. So how am I gonna move now? I don't know, but we're gonna figure it out because her head is laying on the table. Okay, Hoya number 2. So this particular Hoya is Hoya species. I believe she has, the seller never got back to me. It was a Hoya gift. The original leaf was like quite wide and quite massive, and they came in quite yellow. If I have a photo, I'll insert it now. And so the leaves were massive, and they obviously had something fungal. And I was left with a stem, and I became very worried. I added some cinnamon to the stem and just placed it in sphagnum, which is where it's currently living, and it made it. These leaves are quite small in comparison to the massive leaves that I received, because they were as this wide in comparison to what it is now, and probably that large. And I'll show, like I said, the photo. The veination, it's incredible, and I'm not sure if it has some Clemencyorum in it. I know that when he listed the Hoya, he said that it was combined with the Caudata Sumatra. Obviously, this doesn't have the characteristics of a Sumatra because of the veination that looks more like a Clemenciorum. But nevertheless, he never got back with me. He stopped selling plants, and so I just think the veination, it's incredible. That's the baby, and that's how, you know, beautiful it looks. Can you imagine when the Hoya itself, it's larger and keeps bringing that veination in? So of course I had to, this one does live in sphagnum moss, because that's how I was able to get the stem to come back. And I have it in my IKEA cabinet, and that's where it's gonna remain, because I'm so worried about losing it after pretty much just going to a single stem. So that's the second one, and it's Hoya species, because I have no clue what it is. Okay, let me go on to the next Hoya. So we have 13 more to go. So I'm gonna show you guys two Hoyas that cause a lot of people believe they're the same Hoya. Some people believe they're not. So I'm gonna show you guys the first one, which is Hoya meredithii. So this are the leaves and the veination that comes with Hoya meredithii. I love the fact that the veination, it's very dark and it has some splashes. It does live in sphagnum. I have had issues with her. She did come in soil, and I tried to place it in leca. That was my first mistake. I hated leca, at least in my environment, and I ended up getting it back to a more normal state in sphagnum. So many people believe that Hoya meredithii and Hoya vitellinoides are the same Hoya. And that's the second one that I wanted to show you guys. So this is my Hoya vitellinoides. So you guys see both Hoyas, Hoya meredithii and Hoya vitellinoides. Do you guys believe they're the same Hoya? What I do notice, and I do have the vitellinoides in leca. So what I do notice with the vitellinoides is that it has a clean leaf pattern. When it comes to the meredithii, it's more of a wonky shape. It's just kind of curled up. I do feel like the veination, it's quite similar, but it's not the same. So let's look at the veination. Let me see if I can do this side by side. So look at the veination. Do you guys believe that they're the same Hoya? I'm not sure. I don't think so. So let me see. It could be. I don't know. I know that they're, you know, they're beautiful Hoyas. Let me just grab one at a time because there's too much to hold both. And a puppy. But I do love the Hoya meredithii. When I first found this Hoya was because I was watching Betsy Begonia on YouTube, and she had just purchased a one leaf cutting and it was massive, and as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I have to find it. So this was very overpriced at the time that I purchased the Hoya, but I didn't mind. It's one of those Hoyas that I just find so beautiful and I love looking at it. And so yeah, my Hoya meredithii, and let me place it here. I do have to spray it because it was so humid. It has some dark spotting on the back of the leaves. And then, like I said, my Hoya vitellinoides, which this one was an import, and I feel like it has been always so hard for me to like place it somewhere without a stand because of the way the leaf pattern grows. And that's like a beautiful veination. This is, I believe this is the newest leaf. Yeah, this one underneath is the newest leaf. But look at that veination. And the veination, it's pretty dark in comparison to the meredithii. That's another thing that I noticed, that it's similar pattern, but the veination on the vitellinoides is much darker. So yeah, my Veiny Hoya vitellinoides. I do love the size of these leaves. Are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So the next Hoya that I'm gonna show you guys, I recently purchased this Hoya. It is in soil, and I purchased it at Gardino's nursery. So it's Hoya Callistophyla Kalimantan. And look at the veination on that. So when I purchased it, it was a 2-leaf cutting. I first saw this Hoya at Gusty's Plants. He has a lot of Hoyas and a lot of videos with, you know, displaying Hoyas. I have this one inside my IKEA cabinet. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it there because it's in a full spectrum light, and I feel like it dries very quickly, even though it's in a terrarium setting. And I don't know if this is the type of Hoya that I need to place in sphagnum. I ended up leaving it in a chunky mix because it did come in soil. Anyone that purchased from Gardino knows that Hoyas that come from there are in, it's not a very chunky mix, honestly, but it's what works for them because they're growing in a greenhouse setting. So I might switch this one to, if I don't see anything exciting this winter, I will probably switch it to sphagnum and see what happens and see if I'll have better luck like that. Because a lot of my Hoyas, I noticed that whether it's Leica or sphagnum, they tend to do better for me. I don't know why. But yeah, Hoya Callistophyla Kalimantan, one of my beautiful Veiny Hoyas. I really do love this Hoya. So we'll see. So that's 5 so far, just 10 more to go. Okay, so this one I do keep in my office. This one is a beautiful, beautiful Hoya, and the veination is just slightly different than the rest, but look at that. It's a lighter leaf Hoya, and it is sunburned. So this one I actually ended up getting from that guy named Rick from Florida, that he's known for selling a lot of Hoyas. I went to a show and I purchased something else from him, and he gave me a free cutting of this that he only had like 2 leaves, the Hoya surigawensis. And so when he gave it to me, I thought, oh great, you know, free Hoya. And it only had like 2 leaves, and I believe I ended up doing that video last year, but look, it's just stressing beautifully, showing that beautiful veination. I believe that this is a beautiful veiny light color Hoya. I keep it in my window, and it's a north facing window, and that's where it's getting all this sun stress, from a north facing window. And you can see that that it's getting sun stress in the back too. But yeah, surigawensis, not much to say. Again, the pond on the bottom, the lega on top. And I believe the reason why I did a pond on the bottom is because the roots grow so fast and it kept going to the bottom. So when I do the flushings, it's just very difficult to remove them from the little holes without damaging the roots. And so yeah, I'm really happy with this one. And yeah, my Hoya surigawensis. Wow, this is a stunner. I don't know if you believe the same, but to me, this is such a stunner, especially that leaf. It's just gorgeous. But yeah. And all of these Hoyas that I'm displaying today are Hoyas that I absolutely love. I find them just so stunning, and I could stare at them all day. The next Hoya that I want to show you guys is Hoya Globulosa. The reason why I ended up picking this Hoya is because when it first gets the leaf to come out, at least in my opinion, they look kind of like this bright yellow that is just displaying those beautiful veinations, and then they become a little darker. I do feel like this is a beautiful Hoya. This is the narrow form. I have the Globulosa narrow form, and I have the wide long form as well, and it's looks oval. It's just kind of weird, but I do love the fact that I have both displayed. This is something that eventually I'm gonna have for sale. This is the reason why I love sphagnum, because I can see in sphagnum and a clear cup how healthy those roots are. I do keep it in a lot of humidity, hence the reason why you see those aerial roots. And I'm just like really happy because it's such an easy Hoya. I feel like it doesn't matter where I have placed this Hoya, and it just thrives. And then I did give a plant to Gussie from Gussie's Plants, and he does have a video of our first plant swap where he shows it, and he has shown other videos after where for him it just has gone crazy and it has grown so good for him, and it's really fuzzy in the back, which I'm not sure if you guys are able to see, but the fuzziness of these leaves it's incredible. And that's why it not only makes it for a beautiful veiny Hoya, but also just in general an attractive Hoya, you know, to look at, to touch. I just love it. So Hoya Globulosa. So far, like honestly, pause the video and let me know so far which one out of this 7 Hoyas that I've displayed has been your favorite. Also, at the end of the video, I would love to know which one is your favorite overall, or if you have any of them and if you do anything differently. So this one was a gift from Phil. So this one is one that I purchased at Gardino's Nursery. It's Hoya elliptica. I honestly love this Hoya. It's been a really good grower for me. It looks like little turtles, the back of the turtles. I love it so much. I ended up getting this one from Gardino, and it wasn't very large, but it was when he showed me how much he paid for it, it was really inexpensive. That's the beauty with Gardino. I feel like when you are able to find something on their website, it's something that it's reasonably priced, but their stocks are so sparse that once you are able to make a purchase, you feel like you just won the lotto. I They have amazing customer service. I have always been so happy with them. But yes, Hoya elliptica made it to my top 15 Veiny Hoyas. What do you think? She's so, I don't know if I should, I think I should do a little, I need to get more trellises and just trail this one, because I bet she'll do beautifully. I do have it in a chunky mix, which she loves. I water her once a week, and she is in a full spectrum light in my IKEA cabinet, usually with a humidity level in the 80s and 90s, and she loves it. My Hoya elliptica. Okay, I can see that we have moved along quite well. So this next Hoya, it's a Hoya that I unboxed after a plant swap that I was so excited. So Gussie gave me a cutting of this plant, or I can't remember if it was rooted or not, but either way, this is Hoya Irena. This is a leaf that ended up getting from during my care. Look at those leaves. Hoya Irena. That's just veination and splashes. This one, I believe it ended up getting sunburned, and I haven't removed it because that has not transferred anywhere else. It's not like it has any pest pressures. It hasn't given me any trouble. I keep it in a full spectrum light, actually next to my Hoya elliptica, and they're neighbors. They're neighbors in the same conditions. But look at that. That's a beautiful Hoya. Like, every time I look at it, I just can't believe that this came from a plant swap that I only pay shipping for when I send my plants. So to get something like this for free in the plant community through a plant swap, it just makes you feel really happy. So I thank you again, Gussie, if you're watching, for sending me this Hoya, because it was in my wish list for a very long time, and it's a pricey Hoya, and I do appreciate you sending it to me. But yeah, Hoya Irena. That's so gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Belle, why are you being noisy? I have to like reach further, and she's like laying down. So okay, so I'm down to the last 6. So okay, so this one is almost basic because I feel like a lot of people have this one. And this one is my Hoya Callistophyla. The veination on those leaves are incredible. This leaf, this Hoya, it's in sphagnum. I'm sorry, it's in leca. The roots are quite healthy. You can see more roots down here. So to me, she's a slow grower. I need to have her in a different, I think in a different container, and have a larger trellis. I just spilled a bunch of its solution to see if it does better for me, because I feel like it has been a slow grower. It did give me that tendril, but it hasn't, I keep spilling it. It has given me that tendril, but I don't see, let me hold that hole. But I don't see it doing much other than that. I do feel like it's an incredible looking Hoya. It's quite affordable now in the market. When I first ended up getting into Hoyas, I felt like this Hoya Callistophyla was quite pricey. And now I see it extremely affordable. And I do think that the plant prices are coming down, and I'm really happy about that. I haven't had any pest pressures with her, but every time I have company, this is one that does get noticed because of the location that it's at. I do have it in my living room space, and it's something that just automatically attracts. And so it's interesting when they ask me about it and care and all that, but I don't have it large enough to be able to make a cutting because everything is clustered. So as of right now, it's not a plant that I can share. But once it gets bigger, like, I wouldn't mind sharing it with friends or family, you know, as this plant community is something that you give and you give and you get. It's whew, it's a good community to be a part of. Okay, so that's my Hoya Callistophyla. Okay, down to the last 5. Okay, so I'm gonna, I don't know. Okay, let's just do this. So I'm gonna show you guys my Hoya Clemenciarum. I recently did an office tour, and I ended up displaying it. I ended up getting it from the same seller that sent me that Hoya species that I have no clue what it is. But this is my Hoya Clemenciarum. It had 2 leaves when I first received it, right here on the bottom. The second leaf ended up dying, and I right away applied some cinnamon to that because of what had happened with the other one. I didn't want to take any chances. It did have the long stem, but if you notice on the stem, every single leaf that it had died, and he gave me this new one recently. So this is my new baby leaf with my Hoya Clemenciarum. It's beautiful, it's veiny, it's splashy. I have it in a east facing window, and I don't feel like it's getting, it's getting plenty of morning sunlight, but it's not sun stressing. I have seen this particular Hoya becoming very, very dark. We'll see when the summertime comes, because we are in January right now, but as of right now, I'm just happy that it's alive. It is living in sphagnum, and it is happy. And this made my list for Veiny Hoyas. This is something that it's honestly very pricey. So when I ended up purchasing this one, I believe it was an import, because there was no way I was gonna pay US prices for this. But yeah, my Hoya Clemenciarum, my beautiful Veiny Hoya. The one that ended up introducing me to this plant was Gussie from Gussie's Plants, and I just could not believe how beautiful it was. After that, I made the mistake of looking up the Hoya on Instagram. People had some amazing photos of the plant, and I just had to have it. Okay, and then in the same note, I have Hoya Clemenciarum Red King. So the difference between this one and the other one is that this one will sun stress and become completely red. When I first received the Hoya, it was red, and it had, I want to say that it had 2 large leaves, and the other leaf ended up not making it. And so the other leaf ended up not making it, and I placed it in sphagnum. I was worried, and then it gave me these 2 babies. So you can see that it's slightly sun stressed right there, or getting there. But this one is Hoya Clemenciarum Red King, and it had to make it to my list. Aside from the fact that it's like an amazing looking Hoya, I just think it's incredible. This particular Hoyas, I find them hard to display because they are on my west facing window, and east facing window, and I feel like because of the grow pattern, they're so wonky, I may eventually have to place them, may have to have them hanging, because right now in the windowsill it's just not working for me. But I'm doing my best. I believe I did leave a photo on my Instagram where I did show how they're in a row. But this is a beautiful Hoya. Honestly, one of my favorites. And I love the growing pattern. It's incredible. Okay. Oh my gosh. I have to be so careful with all of this. I'm gonna have fun placing them back in their places. Okay. So I just have 3 more to go. We're almost there, guys. Whew. I hope that you guys are liking my Veiny Hoyas. I feel like they're just incredible. So I'm not gonna, I usually show my largest Hoya at the end. I guess you guys are getting a sneak peek, but this time this is probably one of my largest ones, and this is Hoya Tangamus. That Hoya that. So these are 2 plants together. The veination is incredible. I ended up getting it from that same seller that sadly never replied to me and stopped selling Hoyas. But these are sun stressed, as you can see, and they're looking incredible. They are also on my east facing window. I do keep them in sphagnum. I do feel like I may start placing a lot of my Hoyas in sphagnum because they are doing beautifully. I just never thought that my Hoyas will thrive because I always use sphagnum to root them, or many times I have, and I still do. But to grow them as a medium, I always had like fear of it. And then now that I'm doing it and it's being successful, I think I'm gonna start placing more of my Hoyas in sphagnum. I feel like it's so much easier to just touch the sphagnum and see if it's wet or not, in comparison to the soil, where sometimes if you have, like me, if you top dress it, you don't want to be sticking your finger in it 24/7. And at the same time, I'm lazy where I do have a, you know, moisture meter, but I don't always carry it with me when I'm watering my plants. So I feel like with the sphagnum, you know, you fertilize once a month and you're golden, you know? How awesome is that? But yeah, my Hoya Tangamus, it's an incredible veiny Hoya, and I am just so happy that I have it. How impressive is that? Hoya Tangamus. Whew. She's a beauty. So she's also in my east facing window with the rest. The most veiny ones for some reason are there. Okay, down to my last 2. So this one, it's another species of the Clemenciaram family, and this one is Clemenciaram Ace. This particular Hoya, when I received it, the sphagnum and all that was on the bottom. The way that it's at, I thought, could it be backwards? You know, what's going on? Because look at the weird growing pattern of it. So the seller, what he was doing is that he had like a laundry curtain kind of thingy, and he was just having all the Hoyas hang there because his environment's very humid. And I guess it was just the way it was growing. So to be honest with you, till this day, I'm not sure if this is backwards or not, because it looks backwards to me, and I was about to change it when all of a sudden it gives me this runner. So right now I'm just gonna let it be. I do feel like those leaves are incredible. Hoya Clemenciaram Ace, Ace. It's splashy. I gotta get going. So it's splashy, it's beautiful. The growing pattern, it's crazy. The ripples on the leaves are unbelievable. This is an amazing Hoya. I have it in sphagnum in my east facing window and I'm loving it. What do you guys think? And the very last but not least is my Hoya Larissa Splash. Wow. So the reason for this one I ended up purchasing it from an Etsy seller, but I first found her on Instagram. And I'm not sure if her name is Heather Hoya or Heather something, but I ended up purchasing it with the very bottom smaller leaves, and it ended up growing the two largest ones in my care. It's hard to display this Hoya without letting some of the, you know, the soil fall down. So I'm sorry about the angle, but this is an incredible looking Hoya. From the front, when I have this display in my IKEA cabinet, it kind of looks like it's shining and it's just an incredible look. I do love it very much. It's probably one of my top favorite Hoyas because of the way that it grows, the cluster. I love that. Don't get me wrong, I love tendrils because I know more leaves are coming. But when you have them all clustered like that, I feel like that's such a different and exciting and beautiful look. And I think that's why I love it so much. Not just because it's like veiny and splashy, but because of the grow pattern as well. To me, that's just as impressive as having a Hoya, you know, trailing around. But yeah, so these are my top 15 Veiny Hoyas. I would love to know what you guys think of it and which one was your favorite. As of right now, this has been a pretty long video so far, but I hope you enjoyed it. And if you watched this far, please have a little dog emoji so that you guys, you know, are able to know that I ended up having Belle this entire time laying on the table as I'm trying to do this, which is like my entire time, like my back has been forward a bit. But anyway, thank you again. Thank you for supporting my channel, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Until next time, bye.